Hey folks, Jonathan here. New day. Getting ready to start. I was playing with the headers a little bit. Just checking them out and seeing, got to figure out what angle, whether we go down with it or go level with it. But before I get started here doing anything, one thing I do want to say, from time to time I get the comment of less talking, more working. If you didn't talk so much, you would get more work done and all that. You know, I talk and stuff a lot because I'm trying to teach people, you know, not necessarily just teach them, but get them motivated. And part of getting motivated is losing the fear of the unknown. And the fear of the unknown is what keeps people from doing a lot of the work. It's not necessarily because they're too lazy to do it or don't want to do it. It's just the fact that they're scared of it. And if you can explain something to somebody and you know, it takes a little bit of that fear away of doing it, then you know, they're more apt to go out and do it. So if you don't want to hear me talk, just don't watch the video. Anyway, let me get back at it here. Was playing around with the header. Now, before I even start, the first thing we'll do is I'll take this plate back off, and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to tape this with foil tape. And that way, when I do any work, welding and stuff, because you really need to do it with it on the car, nothing will get, you know, fall in there. No little weld beads or nothing. And we don't need that. Go to crank it over, exhaust valve opens, piece falls on top of the piston, then you got a mess. So that's our plan. But what I want to do is I'm going to go in and look at some pictures, and I want to see how it looks with them coming out flat, how it looks with them coming down. There's just so many options here. You know, once you start, it's going to look the way it's going to look, but you can, you know, come down a little bit or come straight. And I may just come completely straight. I think it may look good like that. It's going to clear the steering with no problem. And then of course we're going to come out of the bottom of the back down with an exhaust that goes back, and then this will be capped off. And it's just got 4 screws in it that caps it off, and a gasket. So we're going to go look at some pictures first, but we're probably just going to go completely flat and straight, I'm thinking. These are just old school, you know, lake style, I guess, headers. But anyway, we're gonna mess with that today. We're gonna mess with the firewall and the front mounts. Try to get that finished up, and that's probably about it. Kind of getting a late start on it today. Had some things I had to get taken care of this morning. So anyway, I'll show you more as I go. Okay, folks, really haven't went forward. We went a little backwards. Did a lot of changing, some fabricating. Finally got the mounts done for the cow the way I want them. Well, not really the way I want them. I didn't want them out here. I wanted them inside, but there's just no way to have room to do it. Ended up raising the body up. Actually raised it up 2 inches to get it where I wanted it. That way I can put the radiator in. The grill shell, as you can see, is not all the way sticking down. That bar is going to be gone anyway, but that gives us 8 inches of clearance on the bottom, which is plenty. It's actually about as high as the axle is. It's going to make it a lot easier, and you know, to get everything lined up where it needs to be and all that good stuff. So anyway, so now our floor is way off our frame. But really don't matter because most of this goes under the seat, so I'm going to bring it down from here where the, you know, where your feet go, and keep that low. I think because of it feels like there's some play in that steering gear box. I'm going to use the other steering gear box, and we're going to end up just making the shaft the way we want it. That's not a big issue. A few things I got to change and fix. You know, I made that panel and put on there, but hopefully you can see. Let's see. I can see it. I don't know if you can or not, but there's more. This is running downhill. And I lined it with the bottom, and I wasn't thinking. But the distance of what they've got here compared to here, this is way taller. So I've got my panel crooked, running downhill. And my trunk is straight. My trunk is perfect, you know, inside with the frame and everything, so I'm not worried about that. So I'm going to cut this back loose. I just tacked it on, and I'm going to have to raise it up, and then we're going to have to shorten this side or go down and lengthen this side. Probably just shorten this side up. But yeah, that was where, you know, don't trust other people's work. That's the best advice I can give on that. But kind of was, you know, to a disgusted point on this thing because of the mounts, and just I was running into some things that were really aggravating me. And I think I've got everything figured out now. That 2 inches made it a whole lot better. I can put a radiator right in it, no problem. You know, the grill shell is actually the same height as the cow. We're right at it, you know, where it's sitting at. So that won't be an issue. And it'll look better like that. Plus it'll, like I said, the radiator's going to work. The hoses are going to work just like it should. Won't have to go under the cross member or anything like that. I was going to start on the headers, never did, because I wanted to get the body where it needed to be first. So it is moving along, it's just moving slow. We are going to end up changing the rear shocks, coilovers. I had Noah working on that earlier. Noah has went over to Charlie's to get me a seat frame. I've got a car that's over there that Charlie's getting some parts off of, and it has the seat frame I want to cut down for this thing. So I'll probably get him on that, go ahead and get him, start stripping the upholstery off of it. It's just a full-size rear seat frame for a 1950 Plymouth. So I think we can use what it is, you know, cut it up and shorten it and narrow it just like I did with the other stuff. I've got to move this hole down now 2 inches, which is not a problem either. And that ain't a problem to patch. I mean, that's nothing. So we're moving along. Now, the final week of this thing, the week before the cruise in, Scott, which, you know, I've sent a lot of you to his channel. He comes to the cruise ins, but he actually does, you know, a lot of paint and body work. So he's gonna come the last week and help finish up the body work and spray this thing. And not that I don't like paint. Well, I don't care to paint, but I mean, I can paint. I've done plenty of it, but he's offered, and I can sure use his help. So it's going to help us out some with getting that done. And we'll just keep doing what we're doing here and try to get everything fabricated. It's just, you know, you get overwhelmed with projects like this, especially when you're trying to do them in such a short time period. You know, you can imagine if you're doing one that's that you're spending, you know, 6 months on, or a year on, or 10 years on, you know, you get frustrated with that. So you can imagine trying to do one in 30 days and how, you know, frustrating it can be, and aggravating. And we got a bolt broke off in the center of the head there for the exhaust. I welded a nut to it twice. It broke off again. So now I'm going to have to drill it, and which, you know, shouldn't be no real big issue. I've got the plate. These are 3/8 thick. I've got it bolted on this side so I can start, you know, fabricating on the exhaust. But there's just so much other stuff that I really need to get done. You know, the exhaust is important too, of course. That's the good thing about doing this. If you want to swap to another part and do something a little different, it's no problem to do it, because you know, everything's got to be done anyway. And hopefully here soon I'll get that frame out from under it. As you can see, that white frame hanging down. That's one of the reasons that I was mounting the body so low. I didn't want to see that. So I think, you know, when we're done, of course, that'll be gone, so we won't be able to, that won't be in our way. It won't look bad. And so I think I'm just going to keep, you know, carving away at it here. And, you know, getting them front body mounts done was a pretty major deal for me. You know, you run into hang-ups that you know, really aggravate you, and it's hard to do. So you know, getting past that was a good thing. And now we can move on. I think I'll go ahead and cut the piece out and get the steering back hooked up, and a few other, you know, fabrication inside. I think I'll go ahead and maybe get the floors finished, work on them, work up to our hump where we need to build it. And it's going to be kind of tough because the steering box, you know, we need to build in front of the box, not behind the box. So we can do that, and I might do that before I even bolt the box in. And, you know, like I said, the frame welding we'll do when we get the body off. And, you know, I've got a lot of small places here that's got to be patched, and then I've got some panels that I've made that go around that we need to close everything in. And but it's looking good. It's moving along. We're going to make it. It's not a problem. We're just you figure out the hours of how many hours I can put in and how many hours Noah's going to put in, and you figure up the number of days, so you can about figure how many hours you've got to get something done. And it's not just random jumping in there and doing it. I've got sort of this planned out to what I want to have done within a week. So we've got 3 weeks to get everything right and ready, and then the last week's going to be painting and trying to reassemble. Strip it, Clyde. Alright, we got the seats here. We got Clyde pulling the covers off and all. We're going to do some work on them to get them to fit the frames. This one's got some extension on it to make it tall, but we can work with it. I guess as the right stuff gets harder to find, it just means I got to do more fabrication on it to get it the way we want it. And of course this is full size Plymouth and way wider than what we need. So, and this one's got kickouts on it, so we'll have to just redesign it, refabricate it to get it to the right width that we need. But I like them springs. It's the kind of springs that I like. You sit down in them, they sit good and don't kill your guts when you hit bumps. You're right, Noda. Clyde.
That's right. Bye.
That was what tripped me right there. Ow! Alright, folks. We can't seem to get the seat to fit down in there. No, get the sledgehammer. Let's see if we can pile drive it down in there. Alright, so we're trying to figure out what to do. And we don't know yet. I think what I'm going to do we're thinking about keeping the height. It may work out about right. It may not, but it may. And let me see. I don't know. We got a corner cut off on each side. This is the bottom. This ain't the back. But we could cut a little out of each side and narrow it and set it down and leave our center. Or we could cut it off and make it straight on the ends. And I really don't want to do it with the curve though. I kind of like the curve, but I don't like the kick in. So I don't know. We're just going to have to do some debating on this and possibly cut it twice, here and over there. But when we cut it, the thing about these that I've noticed, of course you want to cut the right amount out. So basically you would want this edge of the spring to be over where this one's at. So you're only going to be taking out that much each time. Now you can deviate that a little bit, but for all the other springs to go back in right, that's just about what you have to do. So we're only looking at taking out about 5 inches on each side, which is not quite enough. We could probably go a little bit more, bring them a little closer together in one spot, and maybe shorten them springs up. These are not hard to work with because they're not even really bent on the ends like a regular spring. They're just wrapped on there. So if worse comes to worse, we could go. We could do 6 inches or close to 6 inches. So between 5 and 6, but 6 may be enough if we go 6 on each side to get it in. Alright, we'll figure it out. Okay folks, got it cut, got it in. We just cut the ends. I think I will make new pieces, or maybe cut the other ones off to come around and bring it back. But believe it or not, I think it's going to work out. We got it on our angle iron edge, and then we've got it on that factory step that was on it anyway, and it don't look too bad. It looks kind of high, but I don't think it's going to be when we get all done. So anyway, now we got to do something with the back. Oh, Noah's getting mad and throwing stuff at you, Clyde. Now we have got to cut this back down, which is going to be another fun adventure. Leave it like that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to put a third brake light on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get to cutting this one down and seeing what we figure out. I already about see what I want. But we're going to have to do some adding to this one too when we get done. Alright. Okay folks, I think the bottom of the seat's going to be just fine. We're going to go with it. I'm just going to be redoing the ends of it here to round it, and we'll get it covered. The back we've had some issues with. The way it's rounded, I think I'm just going to use foam and make a board. We won't use springs in that, but we'll still have our springs on the bottom. So I'm going to make something completely different for that, maybe wrap it all the way around. Okay, worked on the floor some more. Got most of that side together. Still got to do a little trimming. I want to make sure that when I get ready, if I need to pull the transmission, I can still get it out, because the rest of this hump in the center is going to all bolt in. So more work to do it that way, but less work in the long run. And let me see, right now I'm working on mounting the master cylinder for the pedals, and I want to show you what and I've showed this before, but just in case anybody didn't see it, we're actually using an old GM master cylinder, just the small one, but we are using a double. So here's what we've got. Here's my plate. I just welded this, actually I just threw this pipe in the lathe, paced it off so it would be straight, brought it out here, had my location, I just put it on there, and I just tack welded it around it, you know, pretty heavy tacks though, and then I chucked it up, and then I just bored the hole. And that's a quick, easy way to do any size hole. And you know, I drilled it out to I think about 1 inch, and then I used a boring bar on the rest, but it fits on perfect. So now what we do is cut this pipe off, just go through and cut with a cut off wheel and cut the welds off, get it off there, and then we'll drill our holes to mount it, and then get this thing cleaned up good so we can mount it in there. And you know, for anybody that's new watching, I try not to use any new stuff, any new steel. None of this is new. This is old plate. When you clean it up, you'll never know it. And so that's the reason it looks that way. But anyway, let me get at it. All right, folks, time to call it quits again. Just like every other day, I don't get as much done as I'd like to get done. But anyway, I did get the master cylinder mounted on our plate. The holes drilled and bolted, so we can go ahead and get that mounted tomorrow and move along with that. We've got our corners here off of our seat, so we'll work on getting this seat bottom done. This is actually going to work out pretty nice. I put a pad over it and sit down in it, and it worked out real good. The floor is going to work out fine, and like I said, once I get the other side done, then I'll build the center hump and we'll make it bolt in. So pretty simple. Everything else is about like it was. I didn't do a whole lot, but anyway, we will just keep moving along. It's one way or the other, we're going to get it finished up here, and hopefully have it, like I said, have it done and ready for in time for the cruise in. So everything's looking okay right now. I mean, we're behind, but we're you know, always behind. So I don't know, you know, if I can get time to get all this fab work done. That's the most time consuming stuff, you know, bolting stuff together and taking it apart and really cleaning it up and painting don't even take that long, but the fabrication is you know, what really takes the longest on this thing. So radiator's on the way. We took the rear end apart that I had, and pins on the back side of the brake backing plate, looked like they were brand new, and then when we went to take them apart, everything inside had been wet and rusty, so none of our springs are any good. It's just terrible shape. So I'm going to order all new stuff for the back too, new master cylinder, and then we'll run all new lines, so new hoses and lines. So everything will be like new brake wise when it's done, and we'll just keep at it, keep knocking stuff out. I mean, as long as we're working in the right direction, we're all right. And I've got a clevis to go down on the brake pedal, and so that'll go down underneath. We'll get that in, and Should work out fine. I don't see it as being an issue here. I've got to go ahead and get a new master cylinder. That's just I know one from mock-up. I think that's like a 68 Chevrolet. That's the first style that they used with the dual master cylinder, so should work out good. All right, well, hopefully more progress in the next one. But till next time, bye.